We're getting more disturbing details about the ongoing protests in Iran. The Iranian regime admitted over the weekend that at least 5,000 people have been killed in the protests so far. Other reports say that number could be as high as 18,000 victims, with thousands more wounded. A reporter also posted an image of a pile of abandoned shoes that the Iranian regime reportedly left behind after trapping a group of surrendering protesters in a bazaar before burning them alive. But Iran's supreme leader is taking no blame for deadly scenes like that. Instead, he's deflecting blame on the U.S.
We consider the U.S. president guilty, both for the casualties, for the damage, and for the slander he made against the Iranian nation.
President Trump isn't holding back how he feels about the Iranian regime. He told Politico over the weekend that he thinks it's time to look for new leadership in Iran. Joining us now, Mike Huckabee, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, of course, joining us from the region. Ambassador, thank you so much for your time tonight. Of course, the Iranian regime has American blood on its hands. Since 1979, they started their ruling power by taking Americans hostages. They've killed thousands of Americans over the years, of course, responsible for all of their proxy terrorist groups that have killed Americans, Hezbollah, Hamas, you name it. What would new leadership in Iran look like now that the president has said it's time to look for people to replace the current regime?
First of all, Katie, congratulations on the new show. Delighted to see you on the air in your own right. I think we don't know what new leadership would look like. It would depend, is it going to be another Ayatollah, or will it be some leadership that rises up from the people? This is an organic protest that has not happened because of the U.S. or Israel or any outside force. It's happened because the people of Iran are sick after 47 years of watching their government starve them, keep them from getting decent water, and spending all the money that could have built a great Iran, which there once was one, instead spending it to do acts of terror that, as you have mentioned, killed a lot of Americans over the decades. They're the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world. As a result, the Houthis, the Hamas, Hezbollah, all are funded by Iran. There are many dishes that come on many plates, but the kitchen is still the same. It's Tehran. And I'm so grateful President Trump is saying, look, this regime has outlived itself. It's time for the people to have a voice in their future, and let's hope it happens soon.
You have thousands of Iranians in the street hoping that the United States somehow gets involved here. What is the U.S. interest to get involved in pushing this regime out if the president were to make that decision? And is there a risk in the U.S. overextending itself by forcing regime change in Iran?
I don't think there's a risk of the U.S. overextending itself. We're a pretty capable and robust nation with extraordinary assets and capabilities. But nobody is suggesting that the U.S. put boots on the ground in Iran. It's really a matter of, will we continue the encouragement to the people of Iran? Will there be some targeted military strikes? Could be. That's a decision that only the president can make, and if he makes it, I'm convinced it will be made because he will have the intelligence reports around him that show that it will help to make this happen and stop the killing of the citizens of Iran. I want to point out that there's such a silence on the part of the left when it comes to the slaughter of people that are being slaughtered by their own government. This is not the context of a war. This is the context of a government killing its own people. And it's just outrageous that so many on the left who were so concerned about people in Gaza have been utterly silent when it comes to the people of Iran.
Ambassador, just quickly before you go, you're in the region. I find it interesting to watch what the Arab states are doing. What does Saudi Arabia think about Iran? They've been attacked by the Houthis, missiles at their civilian airports. What does the UAE think about this problem? I mean, are you hearing from those kinds of countries as the ambassador to Israel about maybe the U.S. potentially getting involved here? It seems like they're being silent, at least for now.
I think everybody in the region can't stand Iran. It's a threat to not just the U.S. and Israel. Iran is a threat to anybody who would like to see normalization and peace. They may not say it publicly because they don't want to become a target. But privately, every single Gulf state would love to see the Iranian people succeed in getting rid of this regime and restoring some sanity to what once was a great Persian culture.
Exactly, and that may be why the United States will take some action. We'll have to see. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.